You dare not. You will not attempt to take credit for your sister's accomplishments." My mother's voice reverberated throughout the living room as she yelled. My cheeks was flaming with anger as I sat there in shock. I was at my parents' house on Christmas Eve. Only me, my cousin Nina, our dad, and my sister Olivia were out getting sweets. There was light on the tree. The room smelled of cinnamon and pine. However, all I could sense was the crushing weight of their criticism. Sophie is my name, I'm 28 years old, and I've always been the odd man out in my own family. According to my parents, my sister Olivia, the golden child, could walk on water. I couldn't even breathe in the meanwhile, without them finding something to fault. It wasn't just words this time, though. The truth was at issue. I had been secretly giving my folks money each month since July to help with their expenses. However, Olivia had claimed all the credit, and my parents had blind faith in her. I eventually tried to tell them the truth, but my mother cut me off like I was some attention-seeking liar. After that, I was at a loss for words. All of the words I wanted to scream just stuck in my constricted throat. After sitting silently in the corner, Nina finally raised her voice. Her tone was sharp enough to break the tension when she said, "Wait a second. In what way are you certain Olivia is transferring the money? Have you ever witnessed evidence of it?" My parents gave her the look of someone who had grown a second head. My father dismissively waved his hand. Olivia wouldn't lie about anything like that, of course. From the beginning, she has been the one in charge. In charge, I felt like I was slapped in the face by that word. In order to support them, I had cut back on my own spending for the past 6 months, missing out on buddy dinners and turning down things I truly wanted, all because I believed it to be the proper course of action. However, Olivia was always able to intervene and make me appear to be the self-centered one regardless of what I did. I was about to reply when Olivia waltzed in with the bag of candy swinging from her hand as the front door opened. "What's happening?" she asked in a voice that was gratingly upbeat, as though she hadn't just entered a hurricane. She instantly put on her innocent act after glancing at my mom's red face and my clenched fists. She tilted her head as if she was unaware of what was going on. "You must give your sister an explanation." With a trembling finger, my mother pointed at me. "We all know it has been you, but she is attempting to say she has been providing us with financial support." Olivia froze her gaze, flickering from me to Nina and back again before she forced her most cheesy smile. She laughed and replied, "Oh, Mom." Candy is placed on the counter. Sophie must have misinterpreted. Fake worry oozed from her face as she turned to face me. "I've been dealing with this for months, you know. I didn't want to put you through that." I was in complete awe of her boldness as I gazed at her, not understood. With a quivering voice I spoke. "Since July, I have been sending them money, each and every month. Olivia, you were aware of that. You have no right to pretend that this was all a mix-up." Nina glared at Olivia while crossing her arms. "Yes. Olivia, would you mind telling me why you haven't said anything about it for so long?" For a brief moment, Olivia's phony smile wavered, but she quickly got it back up and brushed her hair behind her ear as if nothing had occurred. "I have no idea what you're talking about," she responded in a condescending tone. "Unlike you, I genuinely care about Mom and Dad's welfare, which is why I've been lending a hand." That was it. Something inside of me snapped. "Are you serious now?" I bounded back, getting to my feet so quickly that my chair made a loud scraping sound against the floor. "Olivia, you have been deceiving them for months. You sat there and let them to believe it was you even though you knew I was the one sending the money. Why, in order for you to be the hero?" Before things became more heated, Nina intervened. She raised her palm like a referee and said, "Hold on. This can be resolved in a simple manner. Did Olivia ever provide you with any evidence that she was sending the funds, screenshots, bank statements, anything?" My mom stumbled and my dad exchanged uncomfortable looks. "No, but we didn't believe we had to." Olivia claimed to be carrying it out. Olivia's smile turned to a frown as she spun around to face Nina. With a loud, protective voice, she yelled, "You're not welcome here, Nina. It's a family issue. And to be honest, you have no idea what has been happening." Nina refused to give up. "I believe I know enough," she fired back. Her voice was cold. "Olivia, I've seen you take pride in something you didn't even do. You are aware that you have been feeding them lies." Olivia shook her head and laughed sarcastically. She took out her phone and mumbled, "You're unbelievable. All right, here's the proof if you want it." After going through her files, she showed my parents the screen. "You see, these are the receipts for the monthly transfers that I have been making, similar to clockwork." As my mother looked at the PDFs, her expression softened, but I could tell otherwise. I moved in closer. My heart is racing. Before she could object, I grabbed the phone out of her hand and said, "Let me see those." The receipts appeared authentic. Even the transaction IDs, her name, and the amounts. However, there was something strange about them. Nina leaned down to join me in my gaze as I turned to her. "It's a lie." My voice shook the walls as I exploded. The room fell silent, but I was unable to stop. "Olivia, you feigned these. When you haven't sent them a dime, don't pretend that you have been sending money." I gazed at her, defying her to deny it, and my chest heaved. This was not something I was going to let her get away with. Not now. Nina, who had just been so adroit, now retreated and appeared uneasy. "I'm not sure." She avoided Olivia's look and whispered, "Perhaps I went too far." She would no longer choose a side. Not under the strain. This elevated. Olivia simply grinned while clutching her phone to her chest as if it were a shield. "All right," I said, taking out my own phone. "Do you want evidence? Right now, I'll show you my bank statements." I launched my banking app with trembling palms, but the screen froze. "No." I tapped frantically while muttering. It wasn't functioning. I shut it. I tried again after reopening it. Nothing. I screamed, terror rising in my breast. "Come on, it isn't functioning. How practical," Olivia remarked arrogantly. She folded her arms. "When you have to prove anything for the first time. There's a problem with your phone. It sounds real." "Sophie, enough," with a yell. My father rose and loomed over me. "You've already made a fool of yourself. You owe your sister an apology right now if you are unable to support your story." He spoke in a chilly tone. "Final. If not, you are free to gather your belongings and depart. I will not allow your jealousy to destroy Christmas." I went cold. I could feel the pressure of all eyes on me. "For what do you apologize?" My voice cracked as I spat. "For being honest, because you're sick of living in her shadow." My father simply gestured toward the door. "You can make a decision in 5 minutes." I didn't hold out. After grabbing my coat, I slammed the door behind me and ventured out into the icy night. As I walked to my car, tears clouded my vision. Never in my life had I felt so lost and small. Despite the fact that Christmas was meant to be about family, all I could think about was how out of place I felt in mine. The Christmas lights hanging throughout the streets were blurred by my tears as I drove aimlessly into the dark. My thoughts were racing repeatedly, reliving the altercation. How could Olivia have done this? How could my parents have blindly believed her? It wasn't until I pulled into the parking lot of a 24-hour coffee shop that I realized where I was going. Against the silence of the night, the bright lights within seemed strangely out of place. I snatched up my phone and slipped into a booth, still shaking with shame and rage. I was staring back at my banking app. Useless. I was getting the same annoying warning when I tried to log in. "We're having a serious technical problem. ATMs and all other services are momentarily unavailable. We're trying to find a quick solution to this. I appreciate your patience." Have patience. Now I needed evidence. I repeatedly reloaded the application, as if it could be made to work by mere willpower. However, it was useless. Tonight the cosmos was truly against me. An hour went by. I continued to look at my phone. I was surrounded by empty coffee cups when a message appeared. Nina was the one. "Hello, how are you? I've been contemplating. And my door is open if you need a place to crash. You've always been honest with me, but I'm not sure what to believe at the moment. That night, tell me for the first time." I gave a trembling breath. I got Nina to believe me, or a portion of her did. She felt conflicted. I couldn't blame her either. Olivia's alleged evidence had been compelling enough, and since my app was down, my only option was to defend myself. Nevertheless, her message offered me a sliver of hope. Someone wasn't entirely opposed to me, at least. Everyone knew each other's business in the little town where my parents lived. I would only return for the holidays in the hopes of spending a peaceful Christmas with my loved ones. Instead, I found myself gripping the steering wheel as if it could keep me together as I drove to Nina's house through deserted streets. She was at the door with a mug of tea and a blanket wrapped over her when I came into her driveway. "Come in," she whispered quietly, her face displaying a mixture of hesitancy and concern. She didn't immediately press me to speak when I entered. I finally let out the breath I had been holding since leaving my parents' place. After she simply offered me a mug and ushered me to the couch. After several minutes of stillness, I remarked, "I'm not lying, Nina." My voice broke, but I made myself continue. "Since July, I have been paying them money on a monthly basis, I promise." Olivia allowed them to believe it was her, even though she knew. She displayed those phony receipts. "They are, I'm sure of it." Slowly and uncertainly, Nina nodded. With hesitation, she answered, "I believe you. However, given that the app isn't functioning, you have to acknowledge that it doesn't seem fantastic right now. It resembles the ideal storm." "I understand," I muttered, my annoyance erupting. "But I'll show them the evidence tomorrow if the bank system is operational again. On Christmas Day, I will not enter that house, unless I can demonstrate Olivia's deceit." Nina looked serious as she sat back. She whispered, "Everyone will be there tomorrow. Olivia, your parents, and your entire family. She will be unable to get out of it if you show her the evidence." "That's right," I spoke aggressively. "I will not allow her to continue portraying me as the villain. No more." Nina smiled at me encouragingly. "You are welcome to remain here for as long as necessary, and perhaps the bank system will be operational again tomorrow." I awoke the following morning with a glimmer of hope. I was thinking that perhaps, just possibly, the universe had chosen to be forgiving of me. However, my stomach fell when I grabbed my phone and launched the bank app. I was staring back at the same message. "There is still a significant technical problem. Services are still not available. I appreciate your patience." I moaned as I combed through my untidy hair, still down. I tossed the phone onto the bedside table and mumbled. I sat there for a while staring at the ceiling while my mind searched for other options. Without being able to access my account, how was I meant to prove anything? After gently tapping on the door, Nina took a quick look inside. "Good morning." With 2 coffee mugs in her hands, she spoke. When she saw mine, her face sank. "No luck yet," I gave a head shake. I took the mug away from her. "Nothing, Nina." I'm at a loss for what to do. I can't just in there and contradict Olivia's word. I'll never be believed by them. Tucking her legs under her, she took a seat next to me. Thinking aloud, she continued, "There must be another way. Could you give your bank a call? They might be able to confirm the transactions over the phone." I gave it some thought, but even if I called the bank, I knew it wouldn't work. I was not going to sit there in front of my folks on the phone. They would simply brush it off as just another pretext. In addition, all bank branches were closed on Christmas Day. Nevertheless, I attempted to contact their customer support line, but all I received was an automated message. "A technological problem is causing us to receive a lot of calls. Please give it another go later." I ended the call. Anger is brewing. The reason everyone was phoning must have been the same, and now I was at a loss. I need to come up with an alternative. More to myself than to Nina, I muttered. I can't just arrive with nothing. I felt totally stuck as I sat at Nina's kitchen table and stared at my coffee cup. Every choice appeared to be a dead end. There must be a method. Olivia didn't consider that when she fabricated those receipts, but I muttered more to myself than to Nina, who was close browsing through her phone. For the 100th time, I took up my phone and idly browsed through emails and applications in search of motivation. It dawned on me then. The emails. The bank automatically sent me an email confirming each transfer I made to my parents. Neither the app nor the bank's present technical problems would be related to those. As I rushed to check my inbox, I almost dropped my phone. It took very little time. Clear as day, there they were. From July through December, I received monthly email confirmations with the precise sums I had transferred and the account numbers that were connected to my parents. "Nina!" I whirled my phone around so she could see me virtually yelling. "Take a look at this. The emails, all of them are present. It's all the evidence I require." I felt a wave of relief and resolve wash over me simultaneously. As Nina went through the emails, her eyes grew wide. A smile broke across her face. "You've got her now," she replied in a confident, steady voice. "Olivia cannot get out of this by talking her way out of it." I gave a solid nod of resolution. Only with this proof in hand will I travel to that residence. I'll expose them these emails in front of everyone if she tries to dispute it. I felt in control again for the first time in hours. Olivia was about to reveal her lies, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it this time. I felt a sense of relief as I gazed at the confirmation emails, but it was soon followed by a pinch of humiliation. Why hadn't I considered this sooner? It was very clear. However, I hadn't been able to think straight since last night. The fight, the allegations, and the sheer humiliation of being called a liar in front of everyone had overwhelmed me. To be honest, I was just trying to keep my head together as my thoughts was racing in 100 different places. God, I shook my head at myself and murmured, I feel so foolish that I didn't check my email sooner. All this time, it has been sitting there. Nina grabbed my arm and gave it a squeeze. Don't be too hard on yourself, she murmured softly. Over the last 24 hours, you have experienced a lot. It's understandable that you didn't think of it immediately. What matters is that you have now located it. I still felt a little stupid, but her confidence helped to lessen the humiliation. I inhaled deeply, bracing myself for the next step. I sat up straighter and responded, "All right, I have the evidence. To correct the record, I'm heading over there. It's their fault if after this they still don't trust me." With a determined expression, Nina nodded. "Sophie, I've got your back. Let's go tell the truth to them." I briefly held onto the steering wheel as I pulled into my parents' driveway before leaving the house, which was decked out with a bright wreath on the door and sparkling lights. It seemed like a mean joke. I wasn't present to rejoice. My purpose was to reveal the truth. Before we both approached the door, Nina gave me a slight encouraging gesture. My mother opened it. Her expression tightened in disapproval. "So you made the decision to return?" With a tone that made me wince, she spoke. Olivia was smirking as she leaned carelessly on the wall behind her. "Sophie, did you come to apologize?" With a tone full of derision, she inquired. My father took a more distant stance. He appeared to prefer slamming the door in my face with his arms crossed. "All I want to do is spend Christmas with my family." I forced my voice to sound sorry as I spoke quietly. There should be no more drama. Despite squinting her eyes, my mother moved aside to allow me entry. As I walked by her, Olivia snorted a little and whispered something loud enough for me to hear. "It took you a while to return with a crawl." I maintained a neutral expression while clenching my fist. Let her believe that I had given up. Give them the impression that I was merely here to grovel and go. As relatives, cousins, aunts, and uncles gradually moved into the house, I played along, grinning subtly and avoiding the way. They all gave me kind greetings without realizing the storm that was building below. My heart was racing with excitement as we sat down to dinner. Olivia couldn't help but bring up last night, I knew. She would eventually take advantage of the situation to portray me as the bad guy and herself as the victim. I just needed to wait for my proof to be ready. Olivia was quickly able to take center stage. While passing dishes and having courteous conversations, we were all seated around the table. She gave a dramatic clearing of her throat. Well, she started to smirk as she looked at me. The elephant in the room needs to be addressed, in my opinion. All eyes turned to her and the table became silent. She pretended to be worried as she sat back in her chair. "You know," she began, her voice quivering just enough to sound sincere. "Last night was really tough for me. Really, I never imagined Sophie would go to such lengths as to accuse me of lying. To be honest, it was devastating. As rumors circulated around the table, my stomach turned. Some family members were already giving me displeased looks, while others appeared too shocked to respond. Olivia wasn't finished. I've always made an effort to support this family." She went on, putting a lot of emphasis on it. "Never seeking praise, I send money each month to support my parents. And for her to turn around and accuse me of lying in public, it's simply quite painful." She gave an outstanding performance. Tears that are about to fall. Just enough trembling in the voice to make it sound genuine. My parents gave a nod in agreement. My mother seemed to be seriously injured. "Olivia," she stated firmly, "you didn't deserve that. We've always known that you were the one in charge." There were murmurs of agreement around the room, and I could feel their judgment bearing down on me. My aunts and cousins looked at me as if I were the worst person alive. With my heart thumping in my ears, I clutched my phone beneath the table. This was the moment I had been waiting for, and the pressure was oppressive now. As Olivia carried on with her act, I inhaled deeply and looked at my hands beneath the table. I took advantage of the opportunity when she eventually stopped and dabbed at her dry eyes with a tissue. "That's sufficient," I spoke in a forceful yet composed tone. All heads turned toward me, some in astonishment, some in blatant contempt. I got up and clutched my phone. "Olivia, you've had your turn to speak. It's my time now." She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh, we're at it once more." I turned my attention away from her and spoke to the table. "Since July, I have been sending my parents money each month. I don't ask for praise or make pretentious remarks. However, I was unable to remain silent when Olivia stood there last night and claimed to be the one who did it. I can now demonstrate it." I displayed the email confirmations I had located on my phone. "I have these receipts. My bank is the source of them. The precise dates and amounts of each transfer I made to Mom and Dad's account are displayed." Olivia grinned and leaned back. She waved me away and said, "Oh, please. These days, anyone can fake an email. Is that really what you want everyone to think? I got my receipts directly from the app? They're not phony. I exploded back, my anger exploding. And let's verify the dates if you're so sure. Did you take the time to look up the transfer dates on Olivia's receipts last night, parents? Since they probably don't match mine. My parents looked at one another uneasily. My dad scratched his chin and shuffled in his chair. He acknowledged that we didn't check. We simply made an assumption. We also don't use our phone's bank apps. You simply assumed she was being honest. I spoke sharply as I finished for him. You have the opportunity to discover for yourself why you trusted her without question. Challenging Olivia to interrupt, I crossed my arms. Let's go check your statements from the 8. For each deposit, the account numbers are displayed. For that, financial apps are not necessary. Olivia's smile wavered, but then returned in a flash. All right, she lost her temper. Allow them to verify. I have nothing to conceal. My parents paused, obviously uneasy. With weakness, my mother said, "It's Christmas. Is it truly necessary?" "Yes." I cut in, my voice unflinching. "Yes, we do." My dad reluctantly picked up his coat, and the three of us headed to the closest ATM. As we traveled, the chilly night air pricked my flesh. At the ATM, there was intense quiet. In order to view the transaction history, my dad took out his card. He scanned the dates, slowly comparing them to the statements on my phone. When he clicked into the specifics of a July deposit, the truth was revealed. My bank account number matched the one that was displayed. He looked at August, September. Each and every one of them matched the emails I had shown them exactly. My mother's face went white as she gazed at the TV. "It's Sophie's story," she said in a scarcely discernible whisper. Sophie was the source of all these transactions. Olivia actually spent some time pretending to be someone she wasn't, in case we ever asked. There was a lot of tension in the car when we drew back into the driveway. My folks had been silent the whole way home. They had a mixture of disbelief and shame on their faces. The whispers of conversation in the living room stopped as soon as we entered the house. Everybody looked at us, the situation's weight bearing down on everyone. Then Olivia appeared. She was by the door, clutching her handbag and frantically putting on her coat. She had a red face. Her self-assured grin turned into a terrified, remorseful look. "Olivia," my father stepped up and spoke firmly. We looked over the statements. All of the transfers originated from Sophie's account. "You have been deceiving us." There were hushed gasps throughout the room. A couple of family members looked at each other awkwardly, obviously ashamed to have trusted her. They began gathering their belongings one by one and went toward the door, murmuring quick goodbyes. At last, Olivia's facade broke. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she laughed bitterly. "All right," she lost her temper, turning to look at us. "All right," I lied. "Do you want to hear that I said a falsehood?" Her voice trembled with frustration as she glared at me. "Back in July, you told me that you wanted to assist discreetly and didn't want a big issue made out of giving the money. What's the harm in letting them believe it was me?" I reasoned. "I am already viewed by them as the one in charge. In any case." Her remarks were like a kick to the stomach. "I trusted you, so I told you." My voice trembled as I spoke. "I hoped you would back me up for once. Rather, you utilized it to enhance your own image, leaving me feeling inconspicuous. You have no idea how embarrassing this has been for me." For a minute, Olivia's face softened, but then she became guarded once more. "Sophie," she resented, "they would never believe you over me." I simply didn't anticipate it blowing out this way. My mother spoke up, her voice faltering. "Olivia, why would you do this? Either of you would have been appreciated for your assistance." This had no justification. Olivia remained silent. Snatching up her keys, she hurried out the door and slammed it shut behind her. For a long time, the room was quiet. She felt the consequences of her conduct. With remorse on their faces, my parents turned to face me. "Sophie." With a strong voice, my dad started. "We must apologize to you, an enormous one. We ought to have paid attention to you, but we chose not to. We also apologize." My mother gave a nod. She was crying uncontrollably. "We have mistreated you for a very long time. Furthermore, this was unacceptable. We'll try, but I'm not sure whether we'll ever be able to make it up to you, I swear." Uncertain of how to react, I stood there listening to what they had to say. A part of me still hurt from being ignored for so long, but another part of me wanted to forgive them. "Thank you for apologizing," finally I said in a hushed voice. "However, everything is not erased by this. It will require time." They gave me a serious nod, and for the first time, I thought they really got it. After then, the night came to a calm finish. The three of us were sitting in the aftermath after the house had been cleared of visitors. Although it wasn't the Christmas I had planned for, I was no longer the villain, and the truth was out for once.